Why would you not want those players? To me, it was a little bit like the kid in the bedroom playing all the attackers and I'm just going to pick everybody. Perhaps he wouldn't have played a goalkeeper, he'd have played Kane up front.
A first home competitive defeat for England in 4 years and a routine away Nations League victory against Finland. But confusion still reigns at the Three Lions, with interim boss Lee Carsley doing the managerial hokey-cokey as he cannot decide whether he wants the gig or whether he wants to go shuffling back to the under-21s. And of course, the big question on everyone's lips: how on earth do these Premier League superstars rip it up for their club week in, week out, but they cannot deliver consistently on the international stage for England? Here to answer all of those questions, or at least try, is Sun Sports tactical guru Dean Scoggins. Dino, great to be back in the Tactics Exposed studio for an international break special. We're going to have a look at England, and you've got 3 points that you noticed from the 2-3 Lions games that you're going to run through today.
Yeah, and it was a confusing weekend, but we've tried to pick through it. And first of all, it's how England can solve the Cole Palmer, Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden conundrum and get them all in the same team, hopefully. Secondly, we saw this false 9 experiment go badly wrong. So why Harry Kane is absolutely undroppable, attacking and defensively as well. And also the U-turn that Lee Carsley, if it is Lee Carsley, needs to make in defence to get the job full-time.
Well, I think it's 2 odd games, wasn't it, Dino? The game against Greece at home at Wembley, a 2-1 defeat. And one thing I do just want to say first, we're not going to do too much about Greece, don't worry, but Greece were very good. Not too many people have been saying that. There's obviously problems with England, which we're going to talk about. Greece are good. I just wanted to get that.
Yeah, if you win at Wembley, you've got to play well.
Exactly that. But 2 goals from Pavlidis, either side of that. Jude Bellingham, what we thought was an equaliser on 87 minutes. But look, let's go first of all, because it's all anyone was talking about over both games before the victory in Finland, as we mentioned as well. The thing everyone was talking about is this Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham. I don't know if it's an issue, if it's even a conundrum that needs solving. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a nice issue to have, because why would you not want those players? Well, of course you want those players, OK? But the thing is that, first of all, we need to touch on the Greece game, even though that was last week, back end of last week. We need to talk about this formation that Lee Carsley tried. To me, it was a little bit like the kid in the bedroom playing all the attackers and I'm just going to pick everybody. Obviously, Harry Kane wasn't quite fit, so he didn't get in the team. Otherwise, perhaps he wouldn't have played a goalkeeper. He'd have played Kane up front as well.
Pickford,
but it was basically they ended up, England, playing 2 at the back, 3 across the midfield in front of it, and 5 players just going wherever they liked. And what that meant is we got destroyed in transition because Greece couldn't believe their luck. They were set up very well, Greece, but they picked the ball. They had 2 players on the inside right and inside left to try and win the ball back when it was in transition. And then when they did win it back, they could turn and they were 3-on-3. Yep. And it was crazy. Everyone for months, years, has been going on about England being too structured and too disciplined and we need to be freer. Well, that was the other end of the spectrum and it was horrible. But the whole thing about it is, how do we get Cole Palmer, Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden playing around in the same team? And my big frustration from both these England games was that Cole Palmer was going back to playing in a position that was too deep. He was coming to try and find the ball in areas where we didn't want him to be. You know, if you're a Greek or Finn defender and you see Cole Palmer going back towards his own halfway line and you can see the number on the back of his shirt, happy days. Lovely stuff.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Cole Palmer's brave in possession. He takes the ball in these tight areas. He likes to take the ball in a square. So he'll see players around and he'll drift into the middle of a square so he can take the ball on the half turn. But if that is on the halfway line or out on the right wing, then you've won as a defence. That's fine. We will pick everybody else up. We'll try and make sure we're defending that whipped cross that he does. But what he's done for Chelsea this year under Maresca's playing more central. So last year under Pochettino, look, he had a fabulous season, loads and loads of goals, loads and loads of assists, but he was too wide on the right. This season, Maresca has got him playing as a 10, as a proper 10. And so actually this year, he's having something like 10 to 15 touches per match less this season and still getting more goals and more assists. And England just had him back out in that frustrating position out on the right again. And the other thing was he had nobody going up the outside of him to help.
So what do we do with the other two then, right? Because people have been talking about the Jude Bellingham. How do you play him? At the 10, we saw him playing in a more advanced role at the Euros, where Phil Foden as well. Wayne Rooney says he's the best of that three. Absolutely, undoubtedly, England legend Wayne Rooney. The things he's done for Man City, Phil Foden, are incomparable. Compared, the other two haven't achieved what Foden's achieved yet, right?
No.
On club form. So how do you get them all three playing together? Because Kazi tried it, it failed drastically.
Well, you've got to play them in a system that you want to work, right? We'll come back to Harry Kane shortly, but Kane has to be up front. But just on that point, Ollie Watkins is having a fabulous, I was going to say season, but year, you know, more into last season as well. And you say, OK, he's not what I want up front. I want Harry Kane. So you leave him out. That's OK. He comes on as an impact sub. Fantastic player to bring off the bench. So if you don't think you can fit those players into a system, one of them needs to be left out. But Jude Bellingham gets the ball the most often for Real Madrid in an inside left 8 position, right? He playmakes from there. Cole Palmer gets the ball in that inside right position for Chelsea in a sort of, so 2 10s again, OK? So if you want to play all three, one of them, and probably Foden, has to play left wing.
Right.
And then that's a debate amongst...
Where do the other two go?
And the other two are playing 10s.
Right.
They're playing off Harry Kane in the position where they get the ball the most. So you have Saka, or as it was, Noni Madueke, on the right-hand side maintaining the width, Grealish or Foden wide on the left, and then Bellingham and Palmer playing in a 2-man 10 behind Harry Kane.
That feels a little bit like you mentioned the child sitting in his bedroom playing FIFA, throwing all the attacking players on. That feels very much like 4 attackers behind a striker. That's 5. How do you defend? That feels a bit off balance.
Well, it's Jude Bellingham. So Jude Bellingham is the key to that. Everyone's got this thing because Jude has scored these goals and he's overlapping Harry Kane and scoring all the time for England, that's his general position. But you see him at Real Madrid, you've seen him throughout his career. He's an 8, really. And if he's a little bit more disciplined in these games and comes and plays alongside Declan Rice out of possession, Declan Rice is good enough to play as the only holder in possession, and we can play from there. But look, we want to be attacking.
Yep.
We want attacking players on the field, but we don't want Cole Palmer coming back to the halfway line to get the ball because all the space in front of him is taken. In the Greece game, there was these channels being blocked off, too many players, because they're all ball-to-feet players, too many of them in the same positions.
Right, so if it's all 3 of them, it's Foden on the left wing, it's Cole Palmer as a bit more of a traditional 10, perhaps a bit right-leaning,
Yep.
and then it's Bellingham maybe sort of playing between the 2 positions,
Absolutely.
like an 8.5 or a 10
and these players are good enough to rotate, OK? Yeah. So if Bellingham
vertical...
goes charging into the box, then Cole Palmer's good enough to know he does defend for Chelsea. He's doesn't just stand out there and wait for the ball. He's good enough to come back inside. We know how good a defender Saka is, and Noni Madueke is having a great season, and he's a fantastic option for England.
Yep.
And look, they've got more options. We've got players like Grealish who are flying down the left as well.
OK, well, you mentioned Grealish there, because he's a name on everyone's lips. Got the goal, obviously, to get us going in Helsinki. If the answer isn't the Sven-Goran Eriksson solution, which I've called it, of just throwing all your good players on, which he did with Scholes, Gerrard and Lampard, and hoping it works. If that isn't the answer and getting all 3 of those superstars in the team isn't the way to go, what is the way to go? Who comes out and who goes in?
Well, what was the tactical frustration for me in both England games was that they're not using the full width of the pitch. We talked about Manchester City a couple of weeks ago against Arsenal, you know, with Savinho and Doku hugging the wings. We've talked about it in the Tottenham and Arsenal game where you open up the inside channels by widening the pitch as much as possible. And England didn't do that. If you're going to invert a full-back one side, somebody has to hold the width the other side. Now, normally that's a winger. So Noni Madueke did it really well when he came on against Finland. And actually, that's why Cole Palmer was so frustrated when he came off, because it was like, somebody's going to go up the outside of me and take that fullback away so I can come up the inside.
Yeah.
So, yeah, honestly, they're all brilliant players. But the tactical thing has to be that we're going to play width. And therefore, the 10s have the underlap, as we've talked about.
Who comes out then? Of those 3, who gets dropped?
For me, on the last couple of weeks' performances, I would say you leave out Foden. And you play Grealish on the left-hand side, because Grealish can go up the left. We saw in the last home Euros that fabulous left foot cross for Harry Kane's dart, but Grealish can also go up the inside, so you can have a full-back overlapping the other way. And Saka, we know, will provide that width on the right. And if Saka comes off or is injured, Noni Madueke is going to do the same thing. I wouldn't be totally against Noni Madueke playing one side and Saka playing the other. Just the instruction, the tactic is touchline, touchline, touchline to give the space for our guys to come inside.
Palmer and Bellingham in the middle. Right, undroppable Harry Kane, vital to England in attack and defence. Why so?
Well, Harry Kane does things on and off the ball that people don't really notice. Of course, when he puts the ball in the back of the net, England's record goal scorer, best striker of a generation in an England shirt, and you know that's obvious, right? But in the last game against Finland, you'd see he does this thing where he makes an unselfish run. We talked about that before in other Premier League games, unselfish runners. And Harry Kane, look, Gomez's pass. If Lionel Messi does that, everyone's playing it reel after reel after reel after reel. Unbelievably good pass, but it's not possible without Harry Kane.
Right.
Because Harry Kane comes close to Gomez, knowing full well he doesn't want the ball and that Grealish is going to run behind him. Doesn't know it's Grealish. He just knows it's one of those wingers or number 10s coming off the touchline. So as soon as Gomez gets the ball, Kane drifts in and he takes two defenders on a little merry ride, and then that opens up the space for Gomez to play in behind. It's not an assist, but it's as good as an assist.
As good as.
And then he did the same in the Euros where Saka scores, where Saka comes in on his left-hand side. And look, great strike from Saka, brilliant goal. Saka doesn't know what Kane's doing it. Saka's just going to shoot. But what Kane does is he takes a defender away to open up the space for Saka to shoot through. He does things like that all the time. So, look, selfish striker when he's got the ball at his feet to score, unselfish striker when he's making those runs. So,
and defensively?
Defensively, as soon as he came off last night, Ollie Watkins makes a mistake at the front post. Harry Kane, lots of strikers do this. Haaland for Man City, you're the front post man. Best header, get it clear. You know, if the whipped corner is coming at the near post, head it clear. Watkins, wasn't ready. Kane would have been ready and it would have been headed clear. Does it time and time again. And also, what Kane does when we talked about England's shape before, and whether it's Bellingham or Palmer or Foden dropping back into midfield, Kane understands the game around him. And something we've talked about in the Premier League, where United got it all wrong and City get it all right, is that your striker is your press leader.
Yep.
And he knows when to go and when not to. And Kane's experience at international level means if he goes, no, lads, we sit, everyone gets back into shape. And if he sees that a defence is out of position, he'll go, and then England go from there.
Yeah, right. Lee Carsley, he doesn't seem to know whether he wants to be England manager permanently or not. Weird comments after both games. First of all, saying he hopes he's back at the under-21s very soon after his 6-game spell as interim senior boss. And then kind of hinting at the same thing after the Finland game, but also at the same time saying, well, I'm not sure that I definitely don't want the job, while saying it needs to be a world-class manager who's won lots of things and that isn't
it's baffling.
him. From a tactical point of view, though, Dino, if Carsley has got any chance of keeping the job after the 2 games that he's got left as interim boss, what does he have to do?
Well, just first of all, on that first point, it is baffling. Why can't you just say, I want the job, I'll do my best, and if I don't get selected at the end of it, then I'll go back to the under-21s. I mean, just baffling. But what he's got to get right is the defence. So against Greece, as we said, it was 2-3-5, which really ended up being like a 5-5 formation, because it was like, back and forth all over the show. What that meant was the defenders didn't know what their role was. Am I going with somebody covering me, or am I just holding the line? And we see Premier League defences do it all the time, where they just get back in a line. It doesn't matter if it's your centre-back who's got back in that line. If it's a midfielder covering, he still knows, I'll just get in line with my centre-back and we'll go up and down as a unit, OK? England did not do that. All of a sudden, we had John Stones going into midfield. We had Levi Colwill getting caught out behind. We've got Trent Alexander-Arnold one side, not really knowing where he's going. We had Rico Lewis playing centre midfield and not left back, and then Trent...
Inverted full-backs all over
absolutely.
the shop.
But that's the other frustrating thing. So the first thing is, right, play Trent right back.
Yeah.
He is the best right-back in the Premier League, attacking-wise, definitely. Defensively, look, he does get a lot of things wrong, but he's still improving dramatically. He's defending much better this year under Arne Slot. It's quite lazy for us just to say he's not a good defender. He's got better under Arne Slot this year, and it's kind of the way he plays that often he gets caught upfield, but that's a risk certainly Lee Carsley is willing to take.
You also mentioned Declan Rice has got the ability to play that pivot role on his own, but do you think that there's sort of the way he played over those couple of games, he's been pretty imperious for his whole England career, but that perhaps whether it's an improvement Declan could make or a tactical thing Carsley had told him, that he perhaps wasn't his usual self?
Yeah, I think, he kind of personified the confusion that surrounded England in the last couple of games. Where, look, he's a fantastic player, right? Just a brilliant player. But for Arsenal this year, and much of last year, he's playing as the left 8 and going up and down that left-hand channel. So
kind of what you were saying Bellingham should be doing.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's another decision you've got to make, OK? We want Rice in the team, of course. We want Bellingham in the team, of course. So therefore, something's got to give. And for me, that is, Declan, you are the protection, OK? We know he's not the greatest passer in the world through the lines. He hits nice diagonals, he switches play well, but he often travels with the ball better than anybody else, with the ball at his feet, OK? We've talked about that inside left channel. But so when England, when they're set up correctly, as they were in the first half against Finland, you end up with 3 at the back, and then you end up with the 2 in midfield, which is one of the full-backs inverting, and Declan Rice. And then you've got your attacking players ahead in front of that, which means if you lose possession, it's Declan Rice in a race against one, or a fullback in a race against one of their attacking players. Yeah. Nobody's beating Declan Rice in that. Physicality, blocking off that channel and getting into those positions. In all honesty, I feel like Declan Rice is trying to do too much. And he's been given too much freedom.
Asked to do too much, or he's trying to do too much?
Without being sat there next to Lee Carsley and Declan Rice when that's the case. But I think there's a bit of both. I think that, you know, he's very patriotic. He's extremely passionate about playing for England, always gives 100%. But sometimes it's 100% in the wrong areas of the field.
Work smart, not
absolutely.
hard.
Let's get you back in that position where you are our protector, you are our man who's just going to win it back and as quickly as possible give it to those 4 attackers that we want to be on the ball, and they are going to do that job. Look, he did score a really good goal by getting into the box against Finland, and that was because he saw the opportunity. You're not saying never go in the penalty area, but you're saying in our setup, which will be 3 defenders with an inverted fullback and then the midfielder in front with the 4 players across in front of it, you are the holder. You are that man that everybody else can play off. So I always think that when you play that formation, you've got a striker who everybody knows they're playing around, OK? You've got a centre midfielder, everyone knows who they're playing around, and you've got a centre-back who stays in that position and the defenders play off. Stones, Rice, Kane.
Right, come then, Dino. From a tactical perspective, from what you've seen of Carsley so far, does he keep the job for you?
Well, it was fun. Because it was fun to see something different that Gareth Southgate hasn't done, but for me, no. There's not. There was. You cannot go in with a false 9 after having 1 training session. At the beginning, I thought it was 1 day, and actually, then he admitted afterwards we had 20 minutes at it. Sorry, but that's just not acceptable at international level. And then he got it much better against Finland, but that was kind of because Harry Kane came back in, and he play a more structured shape. But we didn't see enough differently to warrant him getting it, and we also didn't get enough out of Palmer, Bellingham and Foden in those 2 games to warrant him saying, yes, I know what to do with them.
From your point of view then, big tactical guy, who gets it? Who excites you the most of all of the front runners?
I'd love to see Thomas Tuchel get it. I mean, obviously, there's the English-German thing that a lot of fans will have to get over, but he has a clear way of playing. He has a clear way of playing his wide players and his striker, and how important he sees the number 10 roles. I think he's the man to get the best out of them.